Making a mess here this morning, trying to put a tea bag compress on my infected fingernail. So anyway, if you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tidkamar. I used to write for Pathos for over 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm writing and talking a little bit about religion. And today, it's cloudy outside, it's gross. I was planning on talking about the fat shaming that goes around Evangelical town. Hey, it's Celine. But I've been pulled into talking about Lori Alexander again. And I think she makes a good point, and one I'm sure she had no intention of making. I'm going to turn on more lights here. It is like dark because we've got all kinds of clouds out there for a change. Clouds here in Costa Rica. That's a tiny bit better. Okay. So I wrote about these things for over 10 years. I used to quote Lori Alexander all the time. I try to stay away from Lori Alexander now, and she has me mostly blocked on most of her social media. So I don't even see any of her tweets. It's a much nicer world where you're not looking at this crap all the time. And I wasn't even planning on going back to talking about this crap, but I see there's still need to do so. Lori posted something this morning that was just crazy. But before I get started, besides my own silly introduction, let me say, just do all the YouTubey things if you feel like it. These are just my opinions. Don't bully anybody. Don't even be rude in the comments. Don't bully Lori. It's the poor thing. I feel really bad for her more than anything. And seeing her video this morning, I definitely feel bad. Because it starts to look like maybe the brain tumor is back and it's causing her to go deeper and deeper into conspiracy town. Yeah. So I know it's all too easy to seize upon conspiracy theories against whatever side you don't like. It's easy. And what's happened with the country since about at least 10 years, maybe even farther back, as we've gotten more and more divided. And one of the problems with becoming more and more divided is that people come up with these crazy rhetoric on both sides. This is a both sides problem, by the way. So I'm not just ranting against conservatives. No, not at all. I'm ranting about all sides now. So they come up with conspiracy theories about whatever they think is not their brand. It's against their brand. And I just kind of sitting back many times going, yeah, okay. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. Most of them have been proven to just be total and complete nonsense. So I look at some of the people in the media that got fired yesterday, several of them, and know that they both were pushing their own agendas and saying things that weren't entirely true. Lori Alexander's video this morning kind of blew my mind because she said that solar panels give you illnesses that make you very ill, which kind of makes me laugh because solar panels in the home and solar power has been around since the 1970s. I have been lusting over them here because our house is so big that it would really cut our electric bill. And that's really our only real major expense here in Costa Rica is our electric bill. Electricity here is costly. Every bit as costly as in the US. So every time I start looking at solar panels and thinking, yeah, I want these bad boys. I don't care what they cost. My husband runs to the electric company and says, say, what do you think about solar panels? And they always say the same thing. It's like, bad idea and all this. I'm looking at my husband going like, really? Really? Is that where you thought you should talk about solar panels? Was our electric company? So the electric company has talked him out of it. I might have a travel buddy at my job. Well, that would be awesome. Having a travel buddy is always good. So she's saying that solar panels give you illnesses. This is right up there when somebody claimed that windmills cause windmill cancer. It's another conspiracy theory. So she was pushing that one. She was pushing the idea that electric cars are expensive. Yes, they are. And how it makes your electric bill go up 3 times as high to have to charge them. That sounds wrong. Sounds really wrong. Now, of course, that's obviously going to make your electric bill go up. But I'm thinking solar panels on the roof, make your electric bill go up. But I'm thinking solar panels on the roof, sell your extra power back to the power company. It's all good. The real problem is natural gas stoves. Java Man, I know, I agree. They're more of a problem in some ways. And the thing is, I have asthma, so I don't use my gas stove much at all anymore. We do the remodel, it's going to be electric. And like I'm choked up now because I used it this morning. I should just throw up my hands and use a hot plate for now. Some people are sensitive to it. Yet nary a word comes out of her about that. So she right now is on a binge against electric companies. She said that in California, and I am going to have to fact check this, that they're going to start charging for electric. Java Man, I heard that too, and I'm not surprised at all. They're talking about doing that here, so I want to try and push the husband along to do it before they enact that. Where was I? I was talking about her and the cars and the electric cars. Yeah, they're expensive, and it's a new technology that's not as developed as all the gas guzzlers we got. Give it a few years and it will settle down. What she's trying to say about California is getting ready to, according to Lori, I don't know how true this is because Lori loves herself a good conspiracy theory. She is saying that in California, the electric companies are going to start charging you. I'm sorry, charging you based upon not the amount of kilowatt hours you use. They're going to start charging everybody based upon their ability to pay. In fact, let me debunk that one right here while we're sitting here. I'm going to look this up real quick because I just heard this. I wanted to talk about the body shaming that goes on in man, not having one of my fingers in action is a pain in the butt. Oh, instead of having, yeah, somebody's talking about this. Now they may start charging more to have. Oh, a new charge is coming to your bill. Will it make California rates more affordable? Okay, I can't read the whole article because I am not a Los Angeles Times. San Diego Gas and Electric is trying to add a new charge, and that is one of the ones that one of the areas that she lives in. Southern California Edison Pacific Gas and Electric and San Diego Gas and Electric filed a proposal to install fixed-rate electric bill systems for those under the 3 largest power companies. It says here that the real plan is to create income-based utility billing. It should be based upon consumption only. But it says here they want to bill the people living in the richer. That's never going to fly. That's a conspiracy theory website that is pushing this. So this fits with Lori's brand. She really loves herself a good conspiracy theory. And this flat fee. Income-based flat fee for states' utility companies. No guidance besides the idea. Okay. The mandatory fixed fee concept is welcomed by the San Diego-based utility, which is the highest per kilowatt hour electricity price in California. The rate is among the highest in the nation. We'll get solar panels, offset that. So volumetric pricing is what we're talking about here. The more electricity people use, the more people pay. Well, I don't know. Does that sound to you like they're going to be charging rich people more because they're rich? No, it sounds like if you are consuming megawatt hours, they're just going to slap you on the wrist and make you pay a pie. And that's kind of how it is in Germany, too. The real hazard of solar panels is one falls on you. Yeah, exactly. Java Man. The song that South Park came up for in San Diego is very amusing. I'm going to have to Google that when I'm done here because San Diego is a beautiful, beautiful part of California. But I know it's like one of the costliest. I don't know if any of you saw the show Veronica Mars. It was on when my daughter was in middle school, and we used to watch it together. And I used to like to watch things with my kids just to make sure what they were seeing. But you got to realize I was in fundamentalist town at that point, too. I thought Veronica Mars was actually a pretty good show. It showed that girls don't have to be fawning over boys. The more electricity you use, the more you pay. Sounds like every electric bill ever. Exactly, Java Man. So it sounds like what's being proposed is what it sounds like is that if you're using megawatt hours, you're probably going to have to pay a fine on top. And I want to say that that was how they did it in Germany when we lived there, that they had fines and fees. And if you use too much, you get slapped on the wrist. If you used whatever they said, I remember because we were talking about this yesterday, a girlfriend of mine and I, we were both young army wives in Germany, and we're real close friends. We're still close friends. Here we are 30, 35, 36 years later. We're still good friends. And we were talking about the hassles of some of the things that the Germans just took for granted. Like one of them is the utility companies would demand a large deposit from you. The military would, their laws between the military and the German government said that they could not do that, that they had to let you have your electricity or whatever without a deposit. And she ran up against a problem where they tried to charge her an $800 deposit on a telephone bill because somebody had run one up. So you'd have to get the military involved or somebody involved. When I worked for the USO, there were times always at people's houses and this would come up. But this is actually not uncommon in parts of Europe. They figure out how much utilities they think you should use for everything. And then if you go over, well, you're going to pay and you're going to pay a fine. Actually, years ago, if you use too much electricity, the police came by because they think you're running an indoor marijuana growing operation. Java Man, isn't that the truth? I remember, oh Lord, I'm going to date myself. My ex-husband, that's all I have to say, my ex-husband, who I was married to a very short period of time, decided to grow and got fouled up in that nonsense. But he seemed to think that the laws of society were not for him. He used to get busted for DUI and all kinds of just crazy stuff. And I think, if I remember right, they cottoned on to the fact that he was using to grow back in the early 80s, using a lot of electricity, and they went after him. And I think he somehow weaseled out. I don't know. Louisiana is a strange place for justice. So you got Lori fomenting all these lies, and the one about charging based on income is not quite true. And one of the things that I know about that is with these guys in Evangelical, I'm going to call it the taco and taco hell. They believe every conspiracy theory. They will not look at, legitimate news sources to read, because I just picked this up from KPBS, the local PBS station, about this. And it wasn't that hard to find. I found it on one little tiny search. So I'm sure there's more. But I also found the conspiracy theory version of it too. So you really have to use your brain when you're looking at news sources to figure out if somebody is legitimate, because if they're not legitimate, they're running their gap a little too much, you know damn good and well somebody somewhere is going to sue them for defamation. So what's going on with Lori that she's believing this stuff? She's only looking at taco approved news sources, and we can't do that. I look at them too, but only because I want to see what the other side is saying. I look at all of it and make a decision. And that's really, riffing off yesterday, what we should all be doing. Nobody should just be falling for something anymore. The days that we had Walter Cronkite, unfortunately, are long since over. I wish we could get that again. So the second half of what I wanted to talk about today is fat shaming that goes on in the church. I'm just going to call it out what it is. I saw the Funny Fridays did a video on Gwen Shamlin. And those of you that know me well know I was a Gwen Shamlin Way Down Workshop coordinator. I lost a ton of weight on Way Down Workshop, like 70 pounds. And the program isn't super bad. At least it wasn't when I was on it. The only thing is there was a fair amount of shaming of yourself, like, oh, I'm such an awful, horrible sinner. There was a whole lot of that going on instead of what should have been, which was focusing on the Bible and your relationship with God. And that was something that was very helpful. There were tips that were very helpful that Gwen gave in her early books. One that I found was the most helpful for losing weight was just having a single slow mouthful of the thing you were craving, rather than saying, oh, I can't have all that. That's terrible. What happened later with Gwen was tragic. You could look at her and hear some of the things coming out of her mouth after she started her own church, Remnant, and tell that what was driving the bus seemed to be, it really seemed to be some sort of eating disorder. She was pin thin. She was so thin that she looked like Eugenia Cooney, is that her name? The poor girl that has some type of eating disorder that's always on, it's always online doing videos and things. That poor child needs help. So that's one of the problems with focusing too far in your diet is you can go either way. You can go way off the deep end and eat everything in sight and go, doesn't matter. Or you can control it too much. The trick is walking right in the center to find what works for you. And I'm saying this on a day after I went back on my diet. When I had people here, that's impossible because it's like German bakery, where I want my raisin rolls, rolling to the German bakery, rolling to the chocolate shop and getting handmade marshmallows and eating out a lot when we have relatives here. You fall off the deep end, you eat that stuff. Now, my old fundamentalist, my old fundagelical self, who was a Way Down Workshop coordinator, would have been mentally whipping myself for doing those things. And he's like, oh, you're so sinful, you're so sinful, you're so sinful. So this is the thing with them. They wrap your worth as a woman into your appearance, okay? And a large part of what they want to do about the appearance is to be pin thin. Doesn't work for everybody. I'm sorry. I'm about the size of my great grandmother who lived to be 103, okay? And didn't walk because she had broken her hip or something. Didn't walk well for the last 30 years of her life. Hell, I don't walk well. But here's what I do know. I'm trying my damnedest, but I'm damned if I am going to beat myself up. I left that all behind when I left my old fundamentalist church. And that's something they do. The subtle shade and the open shade that they'll be thrown at you is horrendous. I found one of my notebooks the other day from a conference I'd gone to, a women's conference I'd gone to with everybody at the church, and talked to the ladies of our church and talked to the ladies of other churches. It had nothing to do with Gwen Shamlin. It was just a general ladies retreat. And the thing that struck me over and over and over and over and over again is that everyone was busy beating themselves up. Everybody. There was none of this "I'm so perfect" arrogance we're seeing um, out of the cultural enforcers. None of that in our taco church. It was just all, "I'm not worthy. I've never been worthy. I'll never be worthy." It was all just, and I was sitting there with my sisters and I said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect the way you are." And for me to be able to see that when I was still enmeshed in that crap was pretty huge. I wrote a ton of notes about it and just going back over them and seeing where that was and how impacted I was at people that I knew well, that I knew were lifting enormous boulders of bad situations, of unfair circumstances, of things like mentally and educationally disabled children, women who had huge families that were homeschooling all of them and doing it well, a lot of them I knew, women who were trying to help the husband make a go of it on the farm, just so many women with so many different things that I knew they were struggling with. And I thought they were doing it, I thought they were doing their lives well, or saying that they weren't, that they were nothing but abject failures. We need to get rid of that mindset in the church that we're all failures or we're all perfect. The truth really lies somewhere in the middle. And I think that you got to cut yourself a break. Not a break as in "I'm so perfect," but more of a break in, yeah, mama did what she could. I was talking to somebody about this too yesterday because they were putting down the mothering skills of somebody we both knew. And just said, "Look, I don't know what's going on there, but I think that fear is going on there. It's a fearful thing this person's grappling with. And it's a overwhelming thing. So that's the part of them that makes them want to run away from dealing with this thing that's so fearful that they're afraid of." And I get that. I've been there and done that. I told this person, I've been there and I've done that with my own child. And fortunately, I was able to push through very quickly within a matter of a month or so, whereas this person has stayed stuck for like years. Don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck believing crap that's not true. Don't stay stuck believing that you are not perfect in your own weird way. I mean, we all are. We are what we are. And I think we don't speak the truth to each other about how inspirational we are to each other enough times. I don't like a lot of the theology that Lori Alexander does. I don't like much of it at all. And we have had some very similar experiences, her and I. Like her, I tried to stay home with my kids as much as possible. If I worked, it was when the husband was not working. We tried not to use daycare, very little. And I cleaned my house. I don't have a maid. Now I can bring somebody in. If I wanted, I could have a housekeeper. But I choose not to because even on the worst days, I can at least do some few cool things. So there's some places where Lori and I come together. I believe when kids are little, they probably do need a parent if possible, if it's possible. And it's not possible for everyone. It's really an entitlement thing to be able to do that in the first place. But where Lori and I differ, and myself and a lot of the other ones, like I was talking the other day about Alice Beth Stuckey. Alice was sounding off yesterday about the Tucker Carlson firing, not understanding that Fox is a business, just like anything else is a business, and they're going to protect their bottom line. And if they think you are impacting their bottom line, they're going to let you go. I don't care how famous you are, if you have the most highest rated show on cable television. The bottom line dictates. So Alice Beth Stuckey was running her mouth about this yesterday and saying it was a attack on one of God's chosen. I thought that was the Jews, not newscasters. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to stop beating each other up and ourselves up. And while I don't agree with Lori on theology, and I do agree with her in some things that she does, because I do the same things, the theology for me is a stumbling block. But even as that's the stumbling block, I will say I don't wish her any harm. She mistakenly thinks that I have some kind of agenda to grind her down. Not at all. What I want to see is I want to see her do well. I want to see her fully recover from her problems with her brain tumor. I want to see her whole and healthy. I want to see her eating normal food and not weighing various things like she was doing. But at the same time, everybody's body is their own body. And as women, we really have the final say over our bodies. You know, for me, it's incredibly hard to lose weight because for years I was on high dose steroids because of the asthma. I'm no longer on high dose steroids, but I don't get around like I used to. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench in. I'm doing yoga and hanging on, but so let's quit throwing rocks at each other. Let's find those places where we can build each other up. I'm going to try to come up with something I like about Lori that I can say, but so for me, that is going to be hard. I'm going to have to think on this one and think of ways to try and build other women up rather than tear them down. I don't even want to tear down KJ or Michelle Goes Live any longer at all. I feel nothing but pity for both of them right now. Oh, and one last ramble. I'm going to throw shade at a man. I have no problem with that. I've been listening to various online provocators talking about Robert Shin and Shekinah Church. It's Shekinah. It's not Shekinah or Shekinah. Shekinah. That's how that's pronounced. My old church, we went through a whole series. We looked at all the names of God, and one of them was Shekinah. So if we could all get a grasp on ourselves so we don't keep calling Shekinah anymore, that would be good. It really would. Okay, so I'm pretty much bombed out of tacos right now. I'm out of tacos. It's Taco Tuesday, and I think I am going to actually make tacos today. And because I've got some real good barbecue. That would be awesome. Barbecued tacos. Like I said, this was going to be a rambling one. I knew it was going to be a rambling one because I've been thinking about all the weight shaming and that goes on in the church, in the taco type churches. When you have the theology that puts their value only in your looks, what you look like, and if you could cook, clean, and pop out children, things are going to get weird. I had to pause for a minute. I heard the phone ringing and everyone was like, who is calling? Things are going to get weird. And we as women already have so many hard things to deal with that's one of the things that really needs to be the hardest reject as far as I'm concerned, is anything to do with how your body looks. Those are things that can be changed. They're not determinative of anything on the inside. So, okay, so I'm finished rambling today. This is my Taco Tuesday moment where I'm talking about Laura Alexander, wind cancer, and all of that. Her electric car rant, her solar panel rant. I'm going to get off here and I'm going to go pressure the husband to talk about solar panels again because there are more companies here that offer them now. And I think we'd be better off with one, with a set of them, I should say. Our house faces south. I'm looking south right now. And it would be awesome not to have the electric bills we're having, because we've had some pretty big ones because the house is so big. And I don't even run AC all the time in every room. I just run it occasionally in one room or the other. It's just too expensive to run it all the time. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my opinions. And I will see you for sure on Friday. Other days, I don't know. I'm going to try to do Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock. I ran late this morning, and I have to tell you why I ran late so you can laugh. My dumb cat, Pork, chased an iguana into the swimming pool. And my husband was freaking out. So I had to go get the net and net the iguana and haul it out of the swimming pool and try and toss it over the fence. My cat is not a very smart cat. I walked out there. I'd watched the cat chase it into the water. She's standing there at the edge of the pool looking straight down. The iguana wasn't even there anymore. The iguana was like 4 meters down the pool from where she was looking, and she was still looking for it. So when those things happen, sometimes it's going to throw me off a few minutes, and it surely did. So thanks for putting up with me.